This is Steven Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with Platinum versus Dynamite. This is from March 31st, 2021. Folks, we made it. We're through one quarter of the 2021s. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing, too, was this Dynamite. You can say a lot of things about it. You can't say it was boring. I'll talk about different issues I had with this show. But again, undeniable that it was an absolutely exciting show. It was very Russo-esque. I'm just checking to see if the microphone's catching all of this. And it clearly is. They were afraid just of anybody changing the channel. And then when I switched over to NXT at the end, because I always do the run over now, NXT also had the same kind of frantic energy. Both of these shows are leading the pack over Raw, over SmackDown, over Impact, over Dark, and over Elevation. These are all the shows that I watch and report on for you. And NXT and AEW are the show, AEW Dynamite that is, are the shows that just have this kind of frantic energy. And it's really, really something. It's really hard to even decompress from the Dynamite show. We opened with Christian Cage against Frankie Kazarian. Now, they went 19 minutes. They almost went to the time limit. And there are friends of mine who kind of texted like, oh, this match kind of bores me. I found myself fascinated. Christian Cage, it's a cliche to say he has not missed a beat. I actually think in many ways his ring work has been sharpened. I think being in AEW and having a little freedom to work and having somebody he's familiar with like Frankie Kazarian, Christian Cage looked really, really good here. And again, it's a foregone conclusion match. You know that Christian's going to win, but they did a good job teasing it. In the end, he gets the win with the kill switch. And think about it. We've gone 20 minutes and not had a commercial break. And then we get the Darby promo where he addresses Matt Hardy. And that thing was just cool as shit. They're really figuring out this Darby thing, man. Just a really cool looking black and white promo there with the song and everything. Then they promote the entire show. And then they tell us that QT and Cody are next. And we go to commercial. All that before the commercial break. We come back with a Jade promo. And Jade just cuts. Again, they're going to keep putting in front of the camera. And she's going to keep getting better and better. It looked good. It sounded good. They're keeping Jade a star. Every bit a star. Man, good job with Jade. Then we had Cody Rhodes against QT Marshall. It was what it was. It's QT not being able to keep up with Cody, and then QT punches Arn, and then QT and the students attack. And I write down immediately in my notes, we're going to have at least 2 more out-of-control brawls before the night is done. And I go, and probably a couple of people are going to bleed. And sure enough, somebody bleeds in the midst of this fracas already. I love the spot where Anthony Ogogo hits Cody with that punch to the gut, and they set up who Anthony Ogogo is. Of course, I'm familiar with him because I've listened to AEW Dark, where he does commentary sometimes. And then the spot of Red Velvet stopping QT from chairing Cody in the head as his head are on those steps, that he delivered a really hellified good pile driver on Dustin Rhodes. I thought that spot looked really good. It made Red Velvet look good. Red Velvet was concerned without being frantic and screechy. I thought that spot just worked. And again, I mean, how do we address this thing of everybody's got a faction? That's, again, part of the macro problems with AEW, but I can't deny that this segment worked, that it caught me by surprise, that it made something greater out of the Cody Rhodes QT Marshall match than I thought we were going to have, Marshall match than I thought we were going to have. I thought the ring work was solid. I thought this notion of It's one of those things that once the reveal happens, you're like, oh yeah, because all I could think of was, man, there's so many people in the Nightmare family. It kind of renders it unimportant. And then you realize like, oh, all the students have turned and they're with QT. And there's something really great about that. So, man, I'm glad I don't have to do thumbs up, thumbs down on these segments. I just get to talk about them from sort of a booking standpoint and an overall impression standpoint. This show never came up for air. And it's as interesting and exciting as it is a big, huge fucking problem. Man, but let's just talk about the show that we got. Came back from the promo. We have Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky with a cool little how they're finishing off each other's lines and they're going back and forth and they're cutting one promo together and then they say things together. Clearly, they're going to be a team. They're promoting their appearance on AEW Dark Elevation. Now, some people would say, like, why are they promoting Elevation so much? I'll tell you why in a nutshell. First Elevation, 1 million views. And the average Dark gets about 200,000. So the first Elevation got 1 million, and the second one is now approaching, I just checked, 500,000. And we'll see what the third one did. But that's a show that obviously a lot more people are going to tune in for. And it's interesting. Red Velvet, she's talking, cutting a good promo, and then she's attacked by Jade and beaten. So we're going to have a total of 4 like surprise attacks tonight. But boy, when Jade threw her into those crates like you would use to protect speakers or ship equipment, boy, that was a hellified bump. People took very big, brutal bumps tonight. Very big. Moxley cuts a promo about all the things that piss him off, and it's great. We get Cesar Bononi against Jon Moxley. They get a split screen for their match. And at the end, Jon Moxley deals with the 2 people with Cesar Bononi, JD Drake and Ryan Nemeth, and lives up to his word. Again, Moxley's one of these guys, he tells you what's going to happen, and then he lives up to it. He said he's going to drop someone on their head, which he did to Ryan Nemeth, and then he was going to choke somebody unconscious, which he did to Cesar Bononi. Cesar Bononi, incredibly awkward in the ring. Really awkward. That needs to be said. Because now they've had him on 2 Dynamites in a row, losing to people. And, yeah. Team Taz has a promo, and again, this is Russo era. I'm not saying in terms of bad quality. I'm saying in terms of this Crash TV thing where they're doing 2 or 3 things every fucking segment, every segment being about 15 minutes. They're just cramming it in, and they're throwing it at you 1,000,000 miles an hour. And one of the strengths of Dynamite is they've been operating out of strength and doing more with slightly less. This was them just throwing every fucking thing at you. Everything. Hook with the fanny pack gets bonus points. MJF has a gift for the Pinnacle, and it's that he's going to redecorate that locker room. Then he opens the bathroom, and there's the Inner Circle, and this fucking ridiculous fracas of a brawl takes place. More guys bleed. So we had our dual blood already before the first hour of the show is done. We've had 2 wild, out of control brawls and an unexpected attack in the first hour. I just wanted to put those there for you. And this brawl is crazy and it looks really good. I gotta say, Jericho physically looks really good. Part of it is what he's wearing, and part of it is clearly he's been taking that part seriously, and I think it looks good. I think it really lends to the badass aspect when everybody looks badass. And Jericho and certainly the other parts of the Inner Circle did. The brawl highlighted really by Santana and Ortiz and FTR. Boy, they went at it and it looked fucking great. Young Bucks are talking with Alex Marvez. Don Callis comes out and confronts Matt Jackson, slaps him, and then Matt doesn't do anything back, and Don Callis basically calls him pathetic. Interesting. The slow boil continues. Commercial. When we come back, Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid. This show needs to come up for fucking air. They're so afraid to lose anybody. And maybe ratings wise, it'll pan out that they got people to not switch to NXT. But the long term cost of this kind of booking on Dynamite, when it's not a go home and it's not portrayed as a bigger Dynamite, they gotta be careful, man. And I know you're saying like Steve, but history tells us, wrestling fans tell us, they burn out on this kind of booking, and they burn out on it very quickly. So here's hoping. And when I say very quickly, what do I mean? 3 to 6 months. If you keep doing shows like this, you get incredibly noticeable diminishing returns for all this that they're doing. They come back from the commercial break. They wrestle through it. And there's just absolutely bonkers stuff. The dive on the outside by Laredo Kid, where he just looked like he broke himself in half. There's just a million spots. I also thought it was funny that this is when Cody's text came in going like, oh, my match with QT is next. So obviously there was a snafu there somewhere along the way. At the end of the day, the booking is correct. Laredo Kid takes heat. Eventually, he gets back into the match as the Lucha Brothers are out there with the Good Brothers. Omega picks apart Laredo Kid, finally hitting him with a one-winged angel. Moxley comes out and confronts as the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid slink to the back. Catching them slinking to the back was really not a good look. It made it look weird that they didn't help Moxley out. Moxley comes out by himself, but then the Bucks come out and the heels rabbit. All right, I got a promo after a commercial break with Reba talking. Britt Baker cuts just a hellified good promo here, putting herself over, making herself important, talking about Thunder Rosa making an appearance on Elevation. Again, tell me again, Elevation isn't the show that they're worried about. They are worried about Over Dark. Match number 5, Nyla Rose and the Bunny against Tay Conti and Hikaru Shida. And this was definitely where you could tell the energy of the show had taken over. The women wrestled very frantically, in control, but there was definitely an elevation in the energy level. And that is clearly a note that they've been given, that sometimes the show dies in the 5th segment when the women wrestle in it. They were determined to not have that be the case. Tay Conti was made to look every bit a star, but she gets pinned by Bunny, takes a kendo shot, takes Bunny's finisher, and gets pinned here. But the story is really Tay Conti looking unbelievable. Numerous dives and people being taken down, and yet another brawl that broke out. I mean, this show, again, that's my big note, is it needed to come up for fucking air. No doubt an energetic show. Unfortunately, let me just say it again. This is the kind of show, and I've run many, many shows, and I've helped with many, many, many more shows. Thousands of wrestling shows I've been involved with. And this is the kind of show where everybody goes to the back and they're hyped up because they've done a great thing. And they have, no denying. And everybody's like, that was such a fun show, and that was this, and that was that. And everybody's talking back and forth, and they're super excited and chippy, and then they're not getting what they want out of it, not soon thereafter, right? There is something to be said for jolts of sugar and junk food. And this was a junk food show. It was just a lot. And